Okay, so now I'm going to try to strip this thing down a little bit so I can start taking it apart, getting this junky set of gears out of here and investigating the bearings. Did a little bit more research, and it may be that the only bearing that was changed was actually the outer pinion bearing. They went to a larger size for that. If that's the case, that would be nice, because then I can use my existing bearings here and here for the carrier, and I don't have to get that expense. Plus, with the shims that are probably going to come out of here and the shims that I have in the other rear end, I should have a good shim set to be able to make sure this thing is set completely properly. But now that this thing is dried up, whew, boy, yeah, that's unfortunate, because those gears were not in bad shape until it was allowed to rust. Okay, the first thing I think I'm going to do is remove the brake lines, just to get them out of the way so they don't get damaged. So that's going to be take the banjo fittings off, take these little brackets up here and here off, and then pop this off, and the whole thing should come off. The only minorly interesting thing about this is the nut that holds this splitter block in place is actually, I mean, it's a bolt, but it's actually the vent for the axle. So, anyway, it's actually drilled all the way through and out the top, and if you don't get it stuck in a socket, that's where your vent line is supposed to go, and you run that up to the frame of the truck so that you don't get water in this thing, which this one was off, so that certainly wasn't doing anyone any favors. Alright, so now that the brake lines are off, I think the next thing I'm going to do is the emergency brake cable. We want to get that thing off of there because it doesn't look quite right on this side here. That one's fine, but this one here is kind of wonky. So we've got a few brackets of random size that don't look like I'm going to be able to get them with the impact. This is probably a 9/16, although this 13 is working. These mounts look very similar to the other ends, where you kind of got to squeeze them all the way around to get them to cooperate. And eventually, if you dork with it enough, you can get it. There. This line is free, although a little gummy. Over here. I have a feeling that one's going to have to be freed up. Now we actually have to take the calipers off, because the actual mounting hardware, this big bracket, I don't believe that will have to come off. And I'm hoping it doesn't, because it's held in place. These 4 big bolts, it goes through the axle, through the mounting hardware, and then through the back plate. So that can't come off until, or unless, I want to take the whole bearing assembly out, the whole head. And right now I don't necessarily want to do that. So. Caliper mounting bolts are 12 millimeters. Once you get that, you should be able to just rotate them out. These pads look really good, which is nice. Maybe I don't have to replace those. There we are. Alright, now the next thing that comes off is the discs, and they just slide off. Now you can see, you know, the dimensions. These aren't too bad. I don't feel any ridge. Looking at them, I'm going to have to measure them. They may have been milled. See the lip right there? But it doesn't look too bad. Now what you got in here though, here is your e-brake. The e-brake is a little disc, is a drum brake inside of the disc. And it is activated just like that. Not much to it. And I'm going to try to leave it in one piece, because the pads on this side look pretty good. Of course, that one's stuck. So. See if we can get it with just a little persuasion. There it is. A little bit of persuasion. Actually, wasn't too bad. I think it may have been just kind of sticking on the emergency brakes, but I think she'll suffice. And the emergency brake pads over here, like the other side, look pretty good. So I think I'm just going to try to clean those rather than fiddle with them too much. But okay. So that's got all the ancillary stuff off. Now we have to go in and do the same removal we did when we rebuilt my other rear end. Is you got to pop the axles out. We got to get rid of the axles. So that's going to take pulling this, pulling that, pushing the axle in a little bit, grabbing the C-clips, and then she'll be able to come right back out. So that's what we're going to do next. So I don't particularly care for these gears. There she goes. Use a 6-point on that one, it's smarter. Okay. I don't know if you heard that click, but that was something releasing. Most likely some of these springs were held out a little bit, and then when that came out, it came in a little. So now we just push that in. And pull the clips. That's interesting. Okay. Metal. That clip does not want to play ball. Because that's what we heard, was that side moving. Interesting. I think we're getting it. It's just going to fall into the bottom, and we'll have to fish it back out. There it goes. Another clip. And now the axles are out. And the only thing we've got left, other than it would probably be semi-intelligent to put this back in to hold those gears in place. There. Now maybe the spiders won't fall out of it. Okay, so I have pulled the axles the rest of the way out, mainly because I wanted to see what the seals looked like. And you can kind of see this one was leaking a little bit. Not bad, but since we're in here, that's a couple of bucks and easy. We'll also be able to clean and check those bearings because they're a little stranger than I expected. But this one wasn't too bad, but she'll get redone. Now you can see the entire emergency brake setup. And the other thing, what we will do while we're in here is pull these adjusters off and free them up and lube the hell out of them so that they're able to do what they need to do over the course of time. There's actually a spot, if you look, on the back plate, like on a drum brake, just like a drum brake, you got a plug here where you can pop that off and actually adjust the take-up on your emergency drum. But these are in pretty good shape. Lots of meat for what they're going to be doing. I don't see any serious issues on the axle. Of course, I mean, these are fairly beefy-ish. I think 34 spline, which is pretty good. But nothing spectacular, really, on this end.